This video is for Higher Graphic Communication assignment for 2020, which was the notice holder. In this video, we are going to look at creating the wall bracket, which is shown in datasheet 4. The wall bracket is made up of multiple different shapes. We've got a kind of sweep along a path to create the back of the wall bracket, and then at the front we've got a kind of extrude and extrude subtract. We're going to start off by doing the sweep along a path. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up Inventor. I'm going to go to File, New, make sure that I've selected metric, and then select a standard millimetre part. I'm then going to start a new 2D sketch, and I'm going to select the YZ plane. First thing I'm going to do is look at creating the path that we will use for our sweep along a path. So if we go back to the drawing and we look at the end elevation, we can see that it goes up 100, and then we've got another 100 where we've got a kind of curve at a radius of 100, and then we've got a 20 at the end. And the overall length of it from the centre to here should be 120. So to start, I'm going to just start with my line going up at 100. So I'm going to click the green dot between my axis, and I'm going to go up 100, like so. Now we can see that from the centre here is going to be another 100. So I'm going to go from the top of my 100, and I'm just going to draw another line of 100 so that I've got my overall height. And we know that the overall width is going to be 120, like so. And this 120 and this 100, we will eventually look at deleting those lines, but it just gives us a kind of overall size to help us work out where everything goes. Now we've got a radius of 100 from here to here, so there's a couple of ways that we can do this. We can look at finding a centre point to draw a circle, or we can use the arc tool. In this case, I'm going to use the arc tool. So I'm going to use my line first of all. I'm going to go to the top of the 20 at the left hand side, and I'm just going to draw another line at 20. I'm then going to use the arc tool, and I'm going to find the edge of my 20 and the top of my first 100, and then I'm going to make sure that my arc is set to 100. Once I've done that, I'm going to just delete the 100 line that we've done previously and delete the 120 line that we've done previously, and we are left with this shape. So we're left with our 100 line, and then we've got our arc at 100, and then we've got the straight line at 20. Once we've done that, we're just going to look at finishing the sketch. Now, in order to do a sweep along a path, we need to have a path, but we also need to have a profile. And we can see here in section AA that our profile is this kind of circle that has had its top and bottom chopped off, and that is what's going to sweep along the path. So next, we're going to find a plane that we can use to put on our path. And we know that the plane has to be perpendicular to the path. So I'm going to click plane, and I'm going to click that dot at where my 20 is. And I'm going to double click, and you can see that that has now gave me a plane that's perpendicular to my path. On that plane, I'm going to start a sketch. And we can see that this dot here is where the 20 line touches. So we want to make sure that our profile starts in this area. So we can see that it has a radius of 15, and then the distance between the two lines is 20. So I'm going to start off by drawing a circle at 30. So I've got a circle, I'm going to click that centre mark, and I'm going to draw a circle at 30. I'm then going to use my line tool to draw a line, and it doesn't matter what length it is, to cut through this circle, like so. And then using the dimension tool, I'm going to go from the center of the circle to this line and make sure it's set at 10. You can see that I'm now going to use the line tool to go from the center of the circle up 10, and I'm just going to join that on both sides until it hits my circle, like so. And the same, I'm going to go down 10, and then I'm going to just put them along both sides until it touches my circle. So I've got a line at 10 and then a line across touching both sides of my circle, and then a 10 down, and then again a line touching both. I'm then going to use a trim tool to trim the top and the bottom of that circle. So you can see here I now have the shape that was shown in the section AA. Once I've done that, I'm just going to finish the sketch, and we're going to look at starting to sweep. So I'm going to click sweep. First thing I'm going to do is click the profile. I'm going to click the profiles. I'm then going to click path and select my path, and then press OK. And you can see that that has now swept along the path. And I'm just going to turn off the visibility using my modelling tree of that little plane that I created. So now that I have my sweep along a path, we're going to look at creating the front part of the wall bracket. So having a look at the elevation, we can see that we have this circle here at 40, and that overall from the back of the 40 to the front of it is 15. But the width of this is 10, so we know that that circle at 40 has been extruded 5 millimeters. So I'm going to go back and start a sketch on the front surface, and this is where project geometry is going to help. So I'm going to click one of my curves so that I can get a center point, because you can see that my axis is now moved over, so I can no longer rely on my axis. So instead I'm just going to click project geometry and click the curve so that I get this center point. And then using that center point, I'm going to draw my circle at the 40 that we can see in the elevation. So center point and then 40. Once I've done that, I'm going to finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude that 5 millimeters, like so. Now we're going to create this kind of rectangle that is at the front of the wall bracket. So I'm going to start a sketch on the front of the 40 circle that I just created. And then I'm going to use the rectangle tool to create my rectangle. So it's 60 by 100. So we've got the 100, and then we've got 30 add 215, so 60 by 100. So, and we can see that because it's 50 from the center up, we know it's in the middle. So again, I'm just going to project the geometry of my circle just to make sure that my axis is on the center point. I'm going to drop down my menu to click the 2-point center rectangle, and I'm going to go from the center of my circle, and I'm going to make sure that it is 60 by 100, like so. And then I'm going to finish the sketch. And then I'm going to extrude that and the circle by 10. like so. Next, on the front of it, we have a little kind of pin that will eventually go into the swivel bracket that we created previously. So this is going to join up with this part. So we're going to make this little pin, and we know that it is a 6mm diameter circle that has a 5mm length, and it is 20 from the bottom. So I'm going to start a sketch on the front surface. I'm going to draw a circle at 6. I'm going to dimension it so that the bottom of my rectangle to the centre of my circle is 20. And then once done, I'm going to finish the sketch and I'm going to extrude that by 5. Next, we can see that the back of this rectangle has a chamfer at 3. So I'm going to do that first by clicking chamfer, changing the distance to 3, and I'm just going to select that back surface, the kind of top surface of the rectangle, and chamfer that to 3mm. Now we're going to move on to the part of the bracket where this front part of the swivel bracket will fit into. So the wall bracket has a kind of similar shape, but this time extrude subtracted, so that they fit together. And you can see this in the enlarged view B. So to do that, we're going to need to sketch on a middle plane. So I'm going to drop down the plane, and I'm going to go mid-plane between two planes, and I'm going to click one side of my rectangle and then the other side of my rectangle so that I get a plane that runs down the middle. I'm then going to start a sketch on that plane. Now it's quite difficult to see, so we're going to press F7 on our keyboard, and what that's going to do is it's just going to cut through our object so that it makes it a little bit easier to see where we're sketching. And we're going to start sketching out the shape that we have. So if we go back to the enlarged view, we know that overall width is 10. We've got an overall height of 6. And then we've got this line at 3, and then 5. And then it's got a chamfer at 3 at 45 degrees. And then that'll kind of join together. So similar to what we have done previously, we're going to start off with a rectangle just so that we know where our part needs to be in, or where our sketch needs to be in, and then we'll start working it out. So we're going to use the rectangle 2-point. We're going to go into the top left, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle 10 by 6. And this just gives me a guide of where everything should be. So using my line tool, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down 3, and then I'm going to go along 5 degrees, which will be a height of 3. So I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to change my angle to 45, and it's got a height of 3, which means that all we need to do is select or click where it hits that bottom line. So I've got my rectangle 10 by 6, and then I've went down 3, along 5, and then setting my degree at 45, I've got my line here. Now we already have the 45 line from our chamfer earlier, so I'm just going to use the line tool just to join everything up. And then what we should be able to do is use trim and trim off anything that we don't need. So I've trimmed off that top line, and I'm just going to trim off the bottom line. Don't worry too much about the sides. You can see that when I click them, it kind of moves the angles. It shouldn't interfere with the extrude. So if you click trim and it moves something, like you can see it's moving here, just do Ctrl-Z and just remove what you can. And if there's some lines that won't let you remove, it will still work without them. Now that we've done that, we're just going to finish the sketch. We're going to click extrude. We're going to make sure that it's selected to extrude subtract. and we can see that it has a length of 30. So I'm going to change it to 30 and make sure that it's symmetrical, so it's going on both sides, and then press OK. And there we have the cutout on the wall bracket. So it's now starting to look like the shape that it should be. We've just got 2 more holes to do, which are these holes at the back. We can see that there are a 6mm diameter, and then they're chamfered at 45 degrees, and we've got one that is 20 up and then the other is 60 from there. So to make things easier, I'm just going to turn off the visibility of my plane by right clicking it, and then going to start a sketch on this surface here, and I'm going to draw my 2 circles at 6. Now to find the middle, if I just move my mouse over the bottom line, you can see here that it's giving me kind of dotted lines. So I can go 6, and then I'm just going to do another 6. And I'm going to make sure that from the bottom to the middle is 20. And then from the middle of the one circle to the middle of the other one is 60. And then I'm going to finish the sketch, and then I'm going to extrude both of them, or I'm going to extrude subtract them all the way through, so the holes go all the way through. And then lastly, you can see that there have chamfers. So there is a 2mm chamfer on the 2 front, so I'm going to click chamfer. I'm going to change it to 2mm, and I'm going to click the edges of the 2 circles at the front and press OK. And there we have the wall bracket completed. So we can now just go to File, Save As, and save it somewhere safe.